And I'm glad to be back, and I'm just so excited about everything that's going on. And I wanted to talk about God's love because the world is weird, man. And with technology, we're able to see it in real time, and so it kind of like throws off that bad vibe deal. Remember that meme? But it really has always been that way. I mean, it's just been tumultuous from the beginning to today. The only difference is that technology just brings us to us instantly, live, as it happens. And so we get things a little bit misconstrued. We think the world's really bad. And folks, it's always been that way. I mean, there's history just shows us this time periods of just really evil rulers and really bad people doing really bad stuff. But there was always good people living amongst them when it happened. And sometimes when awesome people did great things in those horrible time periods, it stood out as well. So we can't be really like focused on the moment. You just have to balance it and know that there's good and that there's bad. And that's just all there is to it. And we coexist on the same planet. And the only way that you can really like be okay with that is to understand what love is. Like, if you don't know what love is, you may not even believe in love. You might not even believe that there's even good people. Because all you're seeing is bad, all you're getting is bad, all the situations that you're in are bad. So you just don't really see the good. And that is a real perception. Your perception is going to control what you see. So if you know that there's good and you know there's bad, you have a broader perception. And there's people that, all they see is the good. They don't know that there's still, bad things happening to good people for no dang reason. And they just can't believe it because their perception is that what they're exposed to, what their personal experiences are, is that things just can't be like that. People really don't do that. They wouldn't really treat you like that. And then when you see the video, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know. And there's just people who just haven't ever seen the video evidence or read about it and was able to see firsthand these bad things in action. So just as like you have people that the pessimists and the optimists, but you got to learn to balance it because you've got to be able to see the good coexisting with the bad. You got to be able to see the bad coexisting with the good. And when you got good, that's love. When you got bad, well, that's hate. That's opposite of love is hate. Opposite of good is bad. So how can we begin to define what love is? And that's really what I want to do is in this series, this is like, I guess this will be like part one. We're going to learn what love is. And so once we know what love is, then we know what to look for. So now your perception is a little bit broader. And we'll also know what hate is, the opposite of love. So, but one of the things that I wanted to use to help define what love is of course, the Bible. I'm using the Jewish Bible, the complete Jewish Bible. And love is really amazing. I mean, when you look at the biblical definition, it goes even stronger than a Webster definition, where it's like a strong feeling of emotion towards someone positively. That's what love is. And hate is like the opposite of that. Very small, if you ask me, on the definition, but I like the biblical definition because, there's a difference, and I really want you to understand this. There's a difference between biblical and religion and religious, and there's levels to it. So, like, the Bible is something that you can read non-religiously. You don't have to be a part of a sect or an organization. You don't have to be a part of a denomination. You can just be like, hey, man, I read this book. It's called the Bible. I like what's in it. I don't like what's in it. I agree with it. I don't agree with it. That's all on you. And this is how humans process information. We read and we digest, and you kind of like process it and figure out if that works for you. How I stack reality, like from what I read and what I see and what I watch, is with science. I'll use science, like for example, like if a man and woman come together, there's a baby, and that's just science in that. But I don't want to get into that detail. Maybe I'll make it a little bit easier. Like, is this object really here? Am I really holding this book? It is in my hands. I can physically touch it. And that's the science of it. Can you touch it? Can you see it? There's some things that are a little bit more misconstrued, such as Pluto used to be a planet. Now it's a star. So they can change their minds. They can say this thing was millions of years old, but there's really no way to definitively prove that, because nothing is that old alive. It's just, hey, I was there, to validate that. So you kind of have to go with it. But the other things, like with science, if a male and a female come together, their opportunity for a child to come forth is going to happen. And so that's just the science of it. I know that seems a little obscure, but getting back to the point is how I stack things. So once I read something, like reading about Jerusalem, and for example, for me, when I went to Jerusalem, and King Herod walled up the east gate, and he also put a cemetery in it, because the high priest, all he was trying to do was prevent someone taking his throne, his reign. He was very paranoid. So that's why I did these things. Well, he had written that Jesus, the Messiah, would walk through the east gate of Jerusalem and become its ruler. So he knew that if he was a high priest, according to their definitions, he couldn't walk through a cemetery. Well, if you go out there now to Jerusalem, that cemetery is still there, and the east gate's still walled up. That's physical evidence of something that was written in a book that people may or may not agree with, that I can physically see and touch, and it's tangible. And that's how I stack scientific evidence that I can see, feel, and touch, and then match it with what I read and see if it works for me. Now, it works for me, and what has really helped me over the ages is that as time has progressed, I've learned to do that with everything. If someone tells me something, I research it, go find it, to find if it's true or not. It's like when I ordered my Apple Watch online. I'm not my Apple Watch, but the Apple Watch cover, I researched, looked at everything, saw everything, and now it's on my wrist with the Apple Watch inside. Some things are true. Some things that you do find online, you order it, you get it, and to be false advertising. And that can also be with such things that you read, see, but it's up to you to do the investigation into it, to test it, to seek it, to find it, to see if it's really real or not. Because it's very important that what you believe in is to be true or not. Because if you believe in something that's not true, you could die. Like, I thought I could beat vasculitis without taking medications and messing with the medications. Almost died. I don't like medications. I don't like putting things in my body that are made by man, because usually man doesn't have the best intentions for people when they make it. And if we had a track record of doing so, I would be more likely so to want to take medications, but then the adverse side effects, it's long listed, convoluted, and yada, yada, yada. But I have to take the medicine if I want to get well. Or I can stand on my faith, it's written in this book, and I get well that way. Well, guess what? I'll use both. I will stand on what I believe, and then I will also do what is scientifically proven to work for my body with what it has. Just makes sense, doesn't it? I hope so. Well, let's jump right into it. It's 1 Corinthians, 8 minutes. I got 2 minutes to wrap this up. I really don't want these videos to be too long. I just want you to be able to get in, get out, get your daily dose, and get on your way. So in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4, we've got a definition of what love is. It says love is patient and kind. Cool, I can get with that. I like kind people, and I love patient people. It's not jealous. Even better, you don't want what I have. You can treat me as a normal person and not be envious. That's cool. Not boastful. I was really bad about that. I'm awesome, Andre. Welcome to my blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of ego, but as getting so close to death, it really changed the way that I acted. So I'm glad to be alive, and I'm glad that almost dying from this vasculitis made me into a better man. So no more boasting, except for that I am going to get better, and I'm going to be, in the top of my game with vasculitis. So there, I'm boasting on that. It's not proud, rude, or selfish. Cool with me, man. I cannot stand rude people. I cannot stand selfish people. Man, I cannot stand selfish people or rude people. Not easily angered. Driving in a car, road rage, somebody pulls off in front of you. Blah, you get mad. Throw up some phalanges. In one video I watched the guy shooting through his window. I mean, we're just human and it happens. But if we understand what love is, then maybe we're not likely to do it, right? Maybe, I don't know. And it keeps no records of wrongs. Oh my gosh, what a doozy that is. I've screwed up a lot of things, and that's why I feel so loved by God, because by this very definition, he doesn't remember what you did. Well, I mean, he does, but he doesn't bring it up, or does he? I don't know. Is that a catch-22? Who knows? But anyways, my thing is as a human, how many times have you been wronged? I've been wronged like I go out the door and get wronged. Walk into an establishment and get no service and felt like I was being treated rudely and being ignored. But, if I'm walking in love, I'd be patient, right? Yeah, I would. But anyways, love does not gloat over other people's sins, but takes delight in his truth. Now, this is another. How many times have you seen or heard people talk about when people screw up? That's why I don't judge people. Somebody said something to me the other day. Joel Osteen, he kind of comes across. And I was like, remembering how Joel Osteen got his start. He didn't want to do it. His brother was supposed to do it. But his father passed. He had to pick up the legacy. He never wanted anything to do with it. I mentioned to him that he doesn't take salary. And, his book sells, and yada, yada. And people can rip Joel Osteen apart all day long. But I don't know if he's sinning. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. It's not for me to judge. I don't know. And, it says not to gloat over other sins, but takes in delight in the truth. So that's the other thing, is I'll wait around and just figure out what the truth is. Time is the biggest truth serum. If something is really wonky, time will tell it. Time will right the wrongs. And sometimes you may be long gone before the truth comes out, but eventually the truth will come out and you will be justified in those things. So there's something there. If someone's all getting messed up in something, I try not to talk about them, because I've been there, I've done that, I made my own mistakes. So I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. And that's just my own personal experience. You do you. But I'm trying to, be a more loving person. And then it says, love always bears up, always trusts, always hopes, and always endures. And that's kind of like what you have to do when you see all this stupid stuff that's happening. You have to endure, you have to have hope, you have to bear up in these things. I have to believe that people actually care about what I look like, care about how I'm treated as a person for the way that I look. Racism is a big deal, but to me it's not. It's just an excuse to not love and blame it on the pigmentations of someone's skin. I don't actually believe people think that. I know that people think the racist thinks that, but that's not really what it is. You've got hate in your heart. You don't have love. And you're using my skin color or using my ethnicity to put me down, or my gender or my faith or whatever. But behind closed doors, you just don't love yourself. So therefore, how can you love me? Which is the whole reason I'm talking about this love. I know that people want to say that, racism is real, and it is, but the core of it, the source of it, is from the hate in the heart. But they're blaming it on something that's not really the problem. The root of the problem is inside of you. And you've got to learn how to get it out. And you learn to get it out by knowing what love is or what isn't. If you decide to keep it in you after knowing what the definition of love is and what the definition of hate is, that's all on you. I'll just go my own way. And in verse 8, it says, love never ends, but prophecies will pass, tongues will cease, knowledge will pass. And then it goes into talk about these other things that get into the deeper parts of my faith, but I don't want to go down that slope. But it says love never ends. And in the pinnacle of my disobedience with my faith and my Creator, never abandoned me. In fact, I felt encouraged to do right. I never felt shamed. I never felt shunned. I never felt put down. I never felt less than. In fact, it's like when the sun hits your face, it just felt warm and fuzzy, the opposite of. And it was because I was being honest with myself, and I was saying, hey, I'm doing the things that I know I'm not supposed to do. Why are you still loving me? Why do you love me? I'm running from you. Why are you loving me? I don't want anything to do with you. Why are you loving me? I'm so disobedient. Why are you loving me? And it just blew me away, because love never ends. We were created to be loved, not to be destroyed, which is the very reason why good and evil coincide together. Because if he has to eradicate the bad, then he has to deal with the good. And God didn't send his son to die just to kill us. That would be really stupid. So God tried everything that he could think of to get us to listen to his love message, to the love that he has for us. The problem as humans is we can't process that magnitude of love. We have a perception that's so narrow that there's no God because God wouldn't allow these evil things to happen. Well, what's behind the evil things? We are, the humans, the people. We caused this. He set us up for success, and we went in a total opposite direction, and then we want to blame it on God. But really, we need to look in the mirror and start looking at ourselves and doing honest assessments and being honest with yourself. Are you loving? Are you loving yourself? Or are you doing what's necessary so that you can move on with your life? Probably not. That's why it says, I forgot where I was going with that. But anyways, my point is that God does love us, and he will return for us, and he will rule with us. And there's a lot of exciting things that are written in here. Now, you don't have to believe me. You don't even have to accept what I say. But that's not the point. The reason I'm saying it is because I want you to know what love is. And once you know what that love is, you can love yourself, and then you can begin to love others. But if you don't know what the definition of love is, how are you going to do it? And yes, I use the biblical reference to kind of like paint a picture. We just need to learn to be honest with ourselves and love ourselves so that we can start loving other people. And one person at a time will make the world a better place. And all these things that we're seeing that are horrific done by the hands of humans will start to cease one by one as they come to the recognition. And we hold each other accountable for this level of love. And then we just go with that. And as long as we do that, we'll be okay. And if you want to incorporate the love message that God has left for us, even better. But at least start loving each other, stop hating each other, stop mistreating each other, and stop blaming each other, and start talking about other people when they do something bad. When these people do these horrific crimes, they're mentally ill. There's so much gone in them that when they do these things, we want to blame the devices they use to commit these crimes. The devices are not evil. What's evil is the people and how they use them. And so you got to understand that. You can't blame anything but the individual, and that individual is what was the cause for all that destruction. But maybe that person could have been stopped. Maybe that person could have been loved, and they wouldn't have done it. But there are examples of people being loved by God and other people and still choosing to do hate. It's just the way it is. It's a choice. You have a choice to love, or you have a choice to hate. So what are you going to do today? Are you going to learn what love is? Are you going to accept love? Are you going to start loving yourself so you can love others? It's all up to you, my friends. And I hope this message hit home with somebody somewhere. So I would just like to lift you up in prayer and say, Father in heaven, I ask that anyone that wants to feel your love and to know your love, that they will experience your love in the way that I was able to experience it, and how it's enduring, and how it just undoes all the things that are wrong inside of us. And I ask that if anyone that is seeing this video and wants to feel your love, that you'll meet them right where they're at. And I pray, God, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I ask you, friend, that if you want to experience God's love, it's powerful. It really is. It's changed my life, and it'll change your life. And I can't wait to hear or see the love that you find by these series. So until next time, remember, God loves you and I love you, and peace.